Hi everybody, 4 Live here with another Uprising Curse of the Last Emperor board game video. It's a bit of a beginner's guide here, just a few tips, tricks, hints from the games I've been playing on Tabletop Simulator to just try and get you started and eased into this game. It's such a great game, but it's so complex. There's so much going on. It can be a little bit overwhelming on your first playthrough. So I've just put together a few things that will hopefully get you underway, get you into the game and get your uprising and your rebellion going as well as you can. You know what? This is a really tough game. It's hard. You're going to die. You're going to fail. You're going to get crushed sometimes by Chaos and the Empire, but that's part of the joy of it. It's a real roller coaster ride. There's a really fine balance between risk and reward in this game. There'll be comebacks, there'll be crushing defeats, there'll be amazing clutch victories. It's so good. Now, the Kickstarter's fulfilling pretty much at the moment. Some people are already getting their physical copies of the game. I've got a few more weeks to wait here in Australia before I get my copy, but I've been playing an awful lot on TTS since the Kickstarter completed. And if you're new to Uprising and you missed out on the Kickstarter, check it out on Tabletop Simulator. There's a brilliant mod that the developers have put on there. It's got a huge amount of automation. It's really slick, and it's got the whole game on there, including the Arch Nemesis expansion. So you've got access to the whole game to give it a try, give it a go. Like I say, an epic, epic game. I'd really encourage you to do that. So here are some tips that should just ease you into that and hopefully set you up for success and to get the most out of your first game in particular. So the first tip sounds pretty obvious, but have a look at your hero. Have a look at your faction. There are 8 different factions in this game, if you count the ones in the expansion. Each has 2 heroes, 16 different heroes, asymmetric factions, all have different strengths and weaknesses. Have a look particularly at the feat deck for your hero. If you're not sure where to start, have a look at the faction board and the feat deck. The faction board will give you a bit of a feel for the types of units you have, the types of dice you'll be rolling, the sort of resources you're going to need to be able to buy units, and then really look at that feat deck, really look at the starting feats for your hero that you've chosen, because those will by and large give you a bit of a clue about what you should be doing, maybe what your playstyle should be with this particular hero, how you might want to approach the game. And look, I'd really encourage you to lean into that. Look at those feats, not just the starting feats. Have a look through the whole feat deck. Start to get a feel for what the kind of special powers for your hero might be, and absolutely lean into that. That's how you're going to gain an advantage, and you're going to really be able to take the fight to Chaos and the Empire. So let's have a look at some examples of what I mean. Let's have a look at Baranth. He's one of the Durka, one of the starting factions in the base game. And when you look at his starting feats, you've got Phalanx, Archery and Clash. You may turn one of your dice to show one single shield. That's before damage, once per combat on your hero's hex. And your other starting feat is Younglings. After combat, flip this to exchange one Youngling here with one Oathsworn. So I guess what Baranth's telling you is you're going to be wanting to take the fight to Chaos and the Empire. You're going to be strong in battle, and you want to invest in those younglings. Don't pay for the Oathsworn. Invest in those younglings, because you're going to be able once per chapter to flip that card and get a free upgrade. Free upgrade, save those resources, get a stronger unit on the board. So you probably want to go with some younglings when you get your first units, and then look to upgrade one in a nice easy battle maybe to kick things off. So that's an example with Baranth. Now let's look at another example. Here's Kaishi from the Tuathan, one of the expansion factions. Bit of a questing expert here. And you can see from the start cards, Cartographer, always, when you succeed at a quest and would discard it, place it in front of you instead. Discard it to add its bonus die in Clash before you roll. And also, in Clash, stone shells gain 1 white die for every stone shell that was destroyed last round before rolling. So you get to use your stone shells. Even if they're destroyed, you get to use them again. But Cartographer is the big one here. This is the big hint for what you should be doing with Kaishi. You want to be questing. You want to be questing, putting those quests into your hand, and then you're basically charging up this attack where you can just use those quests, get those bonus dies, and have one massive clash round. You know, you can take on a level 7 threat, you can take on a huge threat, Nemesis, you can hit them hard. You know, this is what the feat deck is hinting towards. It's telling you how to play, giving you ideas of how best to play your character. So with Kaishi, you definitely want to be questing. You definitely want to be picking up quests with great bonus dies on, so you can use them in an explosive clash round later in the game. Okay, next tip. Don't overstretch yourself in the first round during that production phase. Don't spend all your resources on units. It can be really attractive, get as many units on the board, get out there and fight, but you've got to hold something back. So have a look at the board, have a look at your faction board, have a look at the cost of your units. For example, here, Baranth, there's a whole load of hexes around him that he can explore, plunder, salt. There's even some food. So a pretty even spread of resources. If you take a look at the other side of the board here for Talak, just salt. So that's going to be a real problem. If we have a look at Talak's board here, you can see salt's fine. I need salt, but I also need a lot of food and plunder if I'm going to get some of those elite units. So that's going to be a real problem. Where are we going to get the production from? I probably want to hold some of that plunder and food for later rounds even, because I'm not going to get much production there. The other reason for looking, and again, check your board because some of them are a bit different here. The Renegade Legion have to pay 3 plunder for a haven. When you're looking at buying units in that first round, first game, don't spend all of your resources on units. Save some. You're going to want to probably have enough to put down a haven and at least 1, if not 2 command actions. So have a look at your board, have a look at your faction. What's that going to cost you? Mentally subtract that, then look at what you've got left, what you can spend on units, how best to do that, what kind of army you're going to try and put together on the board. You're definitely going to want to do some attacking and fighting in that first round. So bear that in mind. But like I say, make sure you don't overstretch yourself too much. Keep enough resources for at least 1 haven and at least 1 or 2 commands. Next tip, let's talk about terrain. Really essential that you use the terrain on those hexes you flip to your advantage. First up, impassable terrain, those white chevrons, right? They are how you can block movement of the nemesis, protect havens, funnel enemies towards each other, away from you, towards you, depending on what you want. And controlling movement of the nemesis on the board, controlling who can get where, that's going to be key to your success. Now, obviously, you don't know what you're going to get until you flip those hexes. You might get some with no impassable terrain or only limited. Here's an example from the board, though. You can see here where Kayushi's flipped a load of hexes. This one had no impassable terrain, but these had 2, 3, the Imperial Mines, 4 sides that are impassable. And by setting this up, you can effectively protect some of your havens from particularly the Empire coming out from the capital with their legions, or maybe even from Chaos. You can force them to go round some of your hexes. And again, that can be really critical. So the other thing with terrain to focus on is terrain types. Let's just zoom in here. This is so important and so overlooked. These terrain effects can make a massive difference about where you want to fight. Are you going to take the fight to Chaos and the Legion on a particular hex that gives you an advantage? Is there something that's going to really weaken them or cause them a problem? Take a look at this. Marshes, any red die become white. And then if we zoom across here to this particular Chaos Horde, the Bloodworm, pretty much all red dice. So guess what? Fighting the Bloodworm on a marsh is a massive, massive advantage. Yep, white die have shields on, but it's going to prevent the Bloodworm hitting those lightning bolts. It's going to prevent them hitting the big skulls that could take you out. That could make a huge difference. So you want to be really clever about what you're taking on, what the threat looks like, where you're doing it. Choose your battlegrounds. That's what I'm saying. And terrain effects are a big, big influence on the game. They can turn it in your favor, or they can create a massive problem for you. Next tip I'm going to give you, particularly for your first games, take out Chaos early. It's tempting, to leave it a bit, let them move around the board a bit. Maybe don't take the fight to them in the first round. I'd really encourage you to at least go after one of the Chaos Hordes in your first round, in your first chapter, because once they activate and move, they start to leave curses. And you can see from the game state I've got here on the board, once those curses build up, every end of chapter, every end of round, they are going to be getting VP after VP, and those curses are really tricky to move. The first couple of chapters, the event cards tend to bring out more Chaos Hordes, and then chapters 3 and 4 tend to bring out more of the Empire and the Legion. So what I'd say is don't hold back. Don't be nervous. Go for it. Go after the Chaos early while the threat level's low. Yes, you might not have as many troops out, but Go for it. Try and take them out. Try and take them out before they can activate. Try and take them out before they can leave curses. Now, if you do get a load of curses out on the board, you're going to need to focus on questing, because there are a few quests like this one that let you remove curses from the board. This is a great quest, Forest Spirit. This is one that is going to let you remove curses from the board, but at a cost. You're going to be paying resources. So later in the game, when you've maybe built up your production and you're holding a load of resources, this is when you can pay those resources, remove that curse, gain a VP, great result. And if you read the card carefully, as long as you keep solving this quest, and it's not a hard one to solve, 1+ and some pretty easy targets, you can keep going. It doesn't get discarded. If you fail, it gets discarded. So if you keep solving this and you've got the resources and you've got a really great questing hero, just keep going. You can do this 2 or 3 times in a single round. Take some of those curses off the board, really impact on Chaos's ability to score VP. So be bold, be willing to sacrifice your units. They're probably going to die anyway. Get out there, take the fight to Chaos early. Don't let them get a hold on the board. Don't let those curses spread. All right, and the last tip, quest. I can't say it enough. Yes, fighting is really important in this game. Exploring is really important in this game, but questing is such a huge way of getting those important victories. Quests are so powerful. And quite a few of the heroes are really tailored to questing. I already talked about Koishi and Koishi's ability to kind of supercharge. There are other heroes that really gain benefits from questing, have plenty of die, that when you get those feats that offer adding a die to your heroes, you're going to want to go for it to give them an even better chance of succeeding at those quests. For some heroes, it's absolutely essential to be questing multiple times each chapter. Don't be afraid to do 2, 3, 4 quests and only a few movements and battles. You really might want to focus on quests. It's the key to winning the game. It's one of the only ways you can remove curses. You can reduce threat on Nemesis. You can take activation tokens off them. Such powerful effects. It allows you to gain items from the market that you shouldn't actually be able to purchase, that but you can get them anyway. Free items from the market, gain resources, gain units, all sorts. Quests have such a powerful impact on the game, and if you're not questing, I think you're going to really struggle in taking the fight to Empire and Chaos. So, like I say, quests, go for it. So there you have it, just a few hints and tips to get you started in your first games of Uprising, Curse of the Last Emperor. There's absolutely no right or wrong way to play this. You're going to have to adapt to whatever cards come up, quests come up, whatever threats come out. You're just going to have to go for it. But hopefully this will get you through that first few games where the rules can seem a little bit overwhelming, and you're going to start to really enjoy this game. It's an incredible game. Can't speak highly enough of it. Good luck.